Welcome to my channel. This is Bruce the Boss, and breaking news regarding the IMF and Afghanistan and the Taliban. But before we get into that, I just want to encourage you to go ahead and smash on that subscribe button, help support my new channel grow in the face of YouTube and mass media censorship. With everything going on in the world as they're trying to silence dissenting voices. So here I am rebuilding my channel. I'm about 6 weeks in. Thank you for your support, but go ahead, smash on that subscription button to help me get back to where I was previously and show YouTube that they cannot control the narrative and or what you are and are not allowed to consume in terms of content, so long as it's not offending and or hurting anybody. Don't forget to smash on that like button and also smash on the notification bell so you can get notified of all my latest content, as it was an issue with my previous channel with numerous individuals not getting notified as I am putting out content, if not on every other day, definitely weekly. And don't want to miss a thing, smash that notification bell. So now let's get into the story. Breaking story from the Hill as the IMF suspends Afghanistan's access to resources. Today, Wednesday, August the 18th, 2021. The International Monetary Fund, also known as the IMF, on Wednesday announced it was suspending Afghanistan's access to resources due to what it called a lack of clarity surrounding the recognition of the country's government after the Taliban took control of the capital city of Kabul. And I quote, "As is always the case, the IMF is guided by the views of the international community," in quote, said a spokesperson for the IMF. They gave to a statement. Now, and I quote, "There is currently a lack of clarity within the international community regarding recognition of a government in Afghanistan, as a consequence of which the country cannot access SDRs or other IMF resources," end quote. Now, this move was followed by the Biden administration reportedly freezing Afghan government reserves held in U.S. banks, blocking the Taliban from accessing billions in funds. So not only are they blocked from the IMF resources to help rebuild the economy in their country, they are blocked from resources in the amount of billions that the country once held here in the United States. And I quote, "Any central bank assets the Afghan government have in the United States will not be made available to the Taliban," end quote, one administration official told the Washington Post. Now, here's where I think it gets interesting. We'll talk about this more in a second. And that is, while it is currently unclear whether the Taliban will be recognized by the international community, though China has indicated that it is open to establishing formal relations, being one of the few countries that did not evacuate its embassies when the Afghan government fell. The reason why I said this was interesting is because when it comes to energy supply, China has coal for days. They've been mining it at record numbers, have hundreds of mines that they have operating full capacity. They're doing just fine there. But when it comes to a lot of other resources, they're still very much dependent on other nations. Now, Afghanistan is home to the world's second largest lithium mineral source or center, and it's been closed throughout pretty much the last 20 years due to the war, more or less. Well, it's in talks of reopening, and guess who the new leaders of Afghanistan, the Taliban, are currently in talks with to reopen the mine? You guessed it, none other than China, one of the only countries that haven't abandoned them during this time or this crisis, and the only country to have left their embassy open and unabandoned there in Afghanistan. So China may have actually secured a lucrative deal, while much of the rest of the world, which the IMF, as you may know, is made up of over 190 different countries, used to try to help, I guess, facilitate trade, help provide resources and or funds to developing countries, well, not just developing countries, to countries to help develop their economies, reduce poverty, help stimulate their local economy, but they have to do a certain set number of things to be proven to be a credible lender, of course, and turning their economy around. And while China may, and while the IMF may have turned their back following the lead of the United States, which has now just thrown away such a large lithium mining resource and a lot of money. China's like, hey, they all abandoned you, but we're still here, and they're going to get rich. And they're already doing this in Africa. For those who may not be aware, the Chinese government bought a lot of real estate in the country, within the continent. I can't believe I almost said country. Along the continent of Africa, amongst a number of different countries. And they're also mining a lot of their natural resources. And the economy, or should I say, some of the people in these countries may not be all that well off and are seeing that financial agreement and or the fruits of that. A lot of the local leaders in these African countries are living pretty large and pocketing a lot of this money. And the same thing could be happening here in Afghanistan if China is able to control this large, vast resource of lithium material, which most people need for lithium batteries, as the world, especially the United States, is trying to go full-on electric when it comes to their cars, automobiles, to try to reduce their carbon footprint among the world. Well, you may need to start to go through China if that happens. Meanwhile, though you think you froze the Taliban out, and you may try to put the squeeze on them financially by suspending them from the IMF, China may be the game changer here in allowing them to remain in control without having to make any concessions to the other 190 countries part of the IMF, at least nothing major, and they can be sustained through this financial transaction with the Chinese government. It may not mean much for the people of Afghanistan, but if we just saw, they're not really willing to fight for themselves, let alone they just folded extremely quickly in the face of the Taliban advances. That thing crumbled extremely fast. I don't see them rising up just because their conditions have worsened than what they were before. And what if China is able to turn things around while the United States is trying to control the situation by saying, you know what, no, we don't agree with your philosophies, your zealotry, and a lot of other actions, and they may be leading the charge and trying to freeze out the Taliban to take them out of power that way, since they can't win a proxy war. What if China's in a position to reverse all that, get all of the other nations in line once they can start a sustainable financial transaction with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and China becomes the new supreme superpower in the world? And this would be one of their many first defying acts during the course of the Biden administration. One of the others being their open declaration of war on Taiwan. Well, they didn't officially announce it. They just literally said, when war comes to Taiwan, U.S. isn't going to come save you. Look at what happened in Afghanistan. They are getting extremely bold, challenging the U.S.'s moves. It's one thing to make a lot of these moves in terms of trade and unfair and an imbalanced trade agreement. They'll get in the NBA and NBA stars like LeBron James to bend the knee, John Cena to bend the knee. And so they're getting really bold, challenging the United States. I don't see the United States being a major superpower unless if it can turn itself around. Otherwise, China, the Communist Chinese Party, is about to take over. But things have just definitely got interesting. That's the video. I want to know what you think in the comment section below. And please don't forget to support this channel by liking this video, subscribing to this channel. This is Bruce the Boss, and I'm out. Peace.